But sometimes all boy groups need to do is like a hip thrust and everyone's like, that is so powerful, immaculate, talented, wow. Because idols do go through so much shit for having their weight fluctuate. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Hi, welcome. My name is Angelina and today we're going to be talking about Itzy. Most notably, recent things that have been said in regards to the misogyny that they face as a girl group, as well as Ryujin's recent comments about body image. So if you're interested in this type of content, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and share this video with friends you don't have, because I don't either. You can also follow me on Instagram because I am almost done my rainbow. Now, Itzy have recently released a video called Letters to Midzy where they get very personal and quite honest about how they feel, and I definitely applaud their level of transparency. So, in this 17-minute video, each member gives a raw insight into their perspective on things, whether it's about the pressures of being in a dance-based group, or the pressures of keeping your emotions bottled up, to even backhanded misogynistic compliments, which was highlighted by Ryujin in her segment, and I definitely wanted to touch on that. So it seems a lot of people are praising her for her words and for calling it out as it is, not actually a compliment. So she starts off by saying, "I'm not sure if you'd call this a bias. We practice for performances a lot." She then goes on to say that when the audiences watch the performance, we prepared hard for people complimenting us, saying, "Your performance seems difficult for a girl group. It looks too straining for a girl group. Too cool to be a girl group." And this is obviously in reference to Itzy's signature choreography that is very intricate and very difficult in my opinion. And it is really sad that oftentimes we would associate such a choreography with boy group choreography. And this is definitely something that I unfortunately see a lot of in my comment section, that, girl group dances are just, easier. And no shade to boy groups. I mean, one of my alts is a boy group. I know this really must be a simulation, but sometimes all boy groups need to do is like a hip thrust and everyone's like, that is so powerful, immaculate, talented, wow. For legal reasons, I need to point out that that's a joke, but we'll get into those types of comments a little bit later. And so she continues by saying, "But these don't exactly sound like compliments to me. For a girl group, feels like it's implying we're a little bit better than expected." She then expresses how she accepts the compliment regardless because she understands that maybe these people aren't coming from a malicious place, but obviously it is quite bothersome. She then continues on saying that they don't go into practice thinking that'll do because we're girls, and then says, "I hope that they could just appreciate it as it is." She's basically saying she would rather be complimented for being cool or having their choreographies look cool or having their performances look powerful rather than only being all of those things in the shadows of boy groups. And there's 100% double standards when it comes to choreographies from boy groups versus choreographies from girl groups. And if you'd like a little bit more of my thoughts on that, I have part 1 and part 2 of double standards in K-pop, which touches on that a little bit. But essentially, it's not a new concept that there are things that boy groups can get away with that girl groups simply cannot. For example, showing too much skin. So historically, boy groups have been praised for, ab reveals, for ripping their shirts off, for doing things that are very suggestive, and they have been given so much leniency in regards to this, while girl groups have had entire music videos and performances banned for doing things that are honestly a lot tamer. An example I bring up quite often is Hyuna's Bubble Pop, which was banned on KBS. The Korean Communications Standard Commission saying that Hyuna dancing with male dancers while dressed in short, revealing outfits was too suggestive, and it was considered to be highly inappropriate for minors, which caused a lot of backlash, especially since Ijun, who was actually in the music video, called this out on an episode of Radio Star. I get sad because I think people are really hard on female celebrities. When male celebrities take their shirts off, people say, "Oh, they're so cool." But when female celebrities do it, people say, "She looks so cheap." And I think it is safe to say that we don't see this happening as much anymore, but then again, we definitely also don't see sexy concepts done nearly as much anymore. Honestly, it seems that sexy concepts were both so incredibly stigmatized, yet simultaneously so in demand, but regardless, have been almost entirely phased out of K-pop by now. And the thing is, girl groups just get shit on so much for simply existing within the entertainment industry. And I honestly commend Ryujin for calling that out. And we've definitely seen a shift in recent times for concepts in K-pop, because back in the day, sexy concepts were a lot more common, as I've expressed before. However, if we fast forward to now, we still kind of see the same issue. Except for now, instead of more sexy concepts, we see that girl groups have taken on more powerful concepts. And yet still within the context of these powerful concepts, we still see these belittling comments. There is just no winning. And Itzy are having such amazing performances. Just the other day, they released a stage practice video where they are singing live. I mean, I had to stand after that. I was blown away. I was like, those live vocals? I actually did a listening party for their new album on my vlog channel, which should be up by Sunday. And I shit you not, I almost cried at their live vocals. Ah! Did you hear that? I feel, little tangent, third gen was more dance-based, and then Gen 3.5 took it a little too far with the dance-based things, but I feel like fourth gen and coming is going to be the perfect mix. I'm predicting it. This performance is absolutely what I love about K-pop. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to feel authentic for me. I felt something from the stage practice, but I was so in love with the stage practice performance, and I really wanted to share it with you guys because it's really rare that you see idols practicing singing and dancing at the same time. That is such that is such a 21 thing to do. And we should be able to appreciate these types of performances without comparing them to boy groups and without acting so surprised that they can perform like that, only if it's because you associate that with boy groups. See, I'm surprised because live vocals are my thing. Not my thing. I like live vocals. I mean, you'll get to see my live vocals when 22 debuts, but that's not for another 2 years. Our debut date is 22/22/22. Mark it in your calendars. But I mean, it's okay to be surprised and to be taken aback by their performances. But if you're watching their performance and you're like super surprised and you're like, isn't that a little hard for a girl group? That's where it gets problematic. Because fun fact, anyone from any gender and actually any size can give amazing performances, which brings us to the second part of this video. So within this specific video, she also did make comments about weight, body image, and essentially the pressures of idols needing to stay thin. And honestly, this is something that I'm going to touch on very carefully for a multitude of reasons. Number one, the content can be a little triggering for some people, so here is your content warning. We'll be talking about body image, weight stigma, and so on. And number two, this is based on translations, right? I can't get a really good feel of what she was really saying given my level of Korean. And honestly, I've seen quite a few different interpretations of what she has said, so my interpretation might be totally different from what you got from that video. So we're going to look into different interpretations and honestly some clarifications that I would like to make. So I just need you to know that I understand that there's a little bit of a lack of context, so I do want to talk about it all. So she basically said, our jobs require us to strive for aesthetic beauty and to stay thin. But it's not like idol stars have to be thin just because. It's about performance. Being on the thinner side will make the dancing better to look at, and you can wear a broader spectrum of costumes. These are the kind of reasons we stay thin. It's not so much focused on being thin no matter what. Because it's prettier shouldn't be the reason why. So I can definitely appreciate that she is saying that being thin does not equate to being pretty. Because I feel like a lot of us can kind of relate to growing up in a society that kind of teaches you to hate your body, that teaches you that being thin equates to being morally superior, and that's wrong. And some people are interpreting her comment as a commentary on how K-pop values thinness a little too much and the pressures that she feels. However, I did want to talk about the performance comment just a little bit about how she said that being on the thinner side can make a performance, quote unquote, look better. What she said about being thin and having dancing look better is not a fact. It's purely an opinion because I know so many dancers who are in bigger bodies who give such amazing performances. However, it's also an opinion that JYP himself shares. And unfortunately, I think there is a flaw in this same argument that he's used and been called out for in the past, notably against Jihyo from Twice and a trainee from Midzy Project. When it comes to Jihyo, on an episode of 16, he told her that her dance looks slow and expressed that weight gain was the reason, and then continued with, while the other girls practice their singing, you have to lose weight. And more recently, he has come under fire for his criticism towards a Midzy Project trainee, where he expressed a similar idea in regards to body weight in dancing, alleging that one has an impact on the other, and he told her, when you were dancing, your body was heavy and slow. And I mean, criticism is criticism. We should be open to criticism. But it just doesn't make sense to me. And it's a little ironic to me that someone could say that a bigger body looks slower. But on the other end of that spectrum, if your idols are only eating one meal a day, or maybe they're not eating at all, maybe they feel really weak, and then consequently, their movements would still be slow either way. So at the end of the day, the message that I'm getting is that it's not actually about performance, because if it was, you would encourage people to eat enough to sustain those activities. So really, it always just ends up coming back to aesthetics anyways, no matter how we try to get around this. Because if you're really claiming that it's just about the performance of it all, but then go on to say that the performance just looks better if you're thinner or if you lose weight, I mean, we essentially just did a whole circle around an argument to make ourselves feel better about preferring thin bodies. So the fact that JYP is so vocal about this doesn't surprise me, especially given the fact that his idols have a similar way of thinking as well, even if this has the potential to bring up concerns from fans. And I don't think this comes from a malicious place whatsoever. I mean, she literally said, because it's pretty shouldn't be a reason why idols want to be thin. So we already see that disconnect. You know, she is not equating being thin to being pretty. And of course, I appreciate that so much. That is an incredible message to send to people. And she's literally calling out society for what it is. Society is incredibly fixated on physical appearance over anything else, which often becomes a conversation about health. But that conversation about health often excludes the accessibility to health and ableism within that. And of course, it also brings up the argument of, you know, how healthy does someone need to be for you to give them basic respect? And I'm also going to link some Instagram accounts below that have helped me unlearn a lot of things and that have honestly made me question so many things in my life. So if you're interested, they will be linked in the description as well. But regardless of all this, regardless of the intention behind the comment, regardless of people's interpretations of those comments, I do absolutely need to point out that if you are fat, if you are in a bigger body, if you do not fit society's ideal body type, you are valid. If you are a dancer, a performer, and you are in a bigger body, you are valid. Your art is not any less because of the way that you look. We have so much proof of so many different body types giving amazing performances. And we also have proof that bigger clothing can be made, if we're going to touch on the comment about wearing a broader spectrum of clothing that she made. I see it as a commentary on society, as a commentary on K-pop itself, that yes, bigger bodies can give amazing performances, clothing can be made for bigger bodies, but we do live in a society that stigmatizes those same bodies. And we also know for a fact that if an idol's weight fluctuates in any capacity, that they will get dragged to filth. So Ryujin isn't inherently wrong with what she's saying. We live exactly in that type of society that she's describing. A society that would value thinner bodies within a performance, a society that wouldn't want to make different sizes of clothing to accommodate more people. A society that would have you believe that there is only one body type that is acceptable. But just because that's the type of world we live in doesn't mean that we can't question that, doesn't mean that we can't challenge that. And maybe that's a stretch. I don't know. I don't really know how exactly to interpret this, especially, again, given this kind of lack of context. So I definitely would love to know how you guys interpreted this, what you guys thought of this, and so on. Because idols do go through so much shit for having their weight fluctuate. And I'm going to tell you something right now. If your weight fluctuates, it does not at all reflect how good of a person you are. And I'm not going to give specific examples for this part of the video because it seems a little hypocritical to put certain idols' bodies on display to then call out how putting their bodies on display is problematic. But I'm sure we can all think of an example of an idol's body whose weight fluctuated and was dragged to filth by the media, by news articles, by fans for simply not fitting into the ideal body type, despite the ideal body type literally changing every 10 years. And these idols, no matter how talented they were, no matter how much good they did in this world, were reduced to nothing but their aesthetics. And that's obviously disgusting. So I applaud Ryujin for not equating being beautiful to being thin. We need more idols to spread messages like that. But I don't agree with the logic that bigger bodies don't perform as nicely, because that stigmatizes people who can simultaneously be super, super talented, but they just don't fit what society deems as aesthetically pleasing, which has absolutely nothing to do with actual talent. Because when I was younger, I remember one of my idols literally said, women need to stay thin, but I can be fat because I'm a man. And let me tell you, that kind of message is damaging. And as a content creator who is like literally so irrelevant, I still have people who think I'm the worst person in the world just by looking at my body, just by looking at how fat I am. And it's the most ironic thing in the world because that is weight stigma. When you constantly go at someone's mental health and try to deteriorate their mental health because you don't like the way their body looks, it can actually have effects on their body. So if you actually care about people's quote unquote health, which by the way, health is subjective and often inaccessible, then you would actually just shut up about people's weight, because that is a lot less detrimental than contributing to weight stigma, which is one of the highest factors for people getting EDs. So to conclude, it is not inherently about performances, right? Watching and enjoying a performance is so subjective, but what you're conditioned to think about the bodies who are performing is a different story, and we need to challenge that a lot more. So yeah, that is basically it for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share this video with friends you don't have. You can also join my channel memberships by clicking the join button next to the subscribe button. You could get a cute Kevin emoji next to your name, some sneak peeks, all of that jazz. These are the current individuals who support my channel every single month. Thank you for all of your support. I also have a playlist on Spotify that's called Magical K-Pop that I made for you guys if you want to check it out. And if you find any songs that are new to you that you vibe with, then definitely let me know. And also go subscribe to my second channel because I am uploading an Itzy album listening party. As for me, I'm gonna get going and prepare myself for all the people who are gonna call me fat on this video. Bye!